Greetings, gentle readers, and welcome once again to the vast and ominous comic book vault. I'm Captain Logan. Today I thought it might be fun, in honor of all the Batman craze lately, to take a look at a goofy little comic book called Mitefall. This, of course, is a parody of Knightfall, and, of course, Dark Knight Rises is partially based on Knightfall, so I thought it might be fun to do some Knightfall stuff. And I don't know, here in the next few days, maybe we'll do some more Knightfall and No Man's Land stuff. I'm thinking about it. Don't know what yet, but I'm thinking about it. Anyway, this is a little goofy one-shot I thought might be fun to take a quick look at. This was written by Alan Grant and drawn by Kevin O'Neill, and chronicles Knightfall as if it happened on Mite World. And actually, Bat-mite being in the regular DC universe, it takes place in the regular DC universe, so it's not like it's just a parody. It's more like Knightfall actually happened, and during Knightfall, here was Mite World playing out Knightfall, and you get the sense that maybe Mite World plays out a lot of big DC events and other things, considering the fact that Reign of the Superman is parodied quite a bit in this also, and I'll get into that in a second, but actually I think that the Reign of the Superman stuff is funnier in this. But anyway, so it, of course, is separated into three parts, just like Knightfall. So you have Mitefall, Mite Quest, and Mite's End, and you have all these Mite puns. Even on the back of the cover, it says, now learn what might have been. So, yeah, it's basically, playing up the fact that Mite and Night rhyme and working completely on that concept alone. But no, it's got its moments. It's a little bit funny. You know, most people either love Bat-mite or they hate Bat-mite, just like Mixoplick. And I don't know, I think I'm somewhere in between. I think it depends on the story. I like silly, goofy comic book stories sometimes, and sometimes I think these characters can do some really amusing, fun stuff. I think that there's a really good case for Bat-mite in Batman Brave and the Bold in the cartoon show. Ironically, the last episode of that show also being called Mitefall, which is not based on this story, but includes Bat-mite and is about the cancellation of that series. I think Bat-mite's one of those characters that you can use to parody real things better than anything, so you can kind of break the fourth wall and really play up you know, real-world comic book stuff, especially the business end of it, which this does some. So anyway, basically this story is about this guy, Bob Overdog, who changes his name to Bob Underdog, and then finally changes his name to the Overbat, when Bat-mite gives him a batsuit that looks just like Jean Pauly's batsuit with a few goofy additions to it. And he, according to this, and I don't know if this is true, I didn't look it up, and this has so many jokes, and has so many, you know, false things because they're jokes that I don't know if this is really true or not, but apparently this character appeared in Legends of the Dark Knight, I think it's at number 38, and also met Bat-mite in that. So I almost want to go back and see if that's actually true, and if this is somehow or rather actually a follow-up to something in Legends of the Dark Knight, which was generally a pretty serious comic book. So anyway, this guy decides to give up his life of crime and stop being a drug addict, and tries to fight crime, and then Bat-mite recruits him to go into Mite World and stop Bane-mite, because Bane-mite has done exactly what Bane in the real world has, which is let out all the villains in the Arkham Asylum in Mite World, and is now wanting to take over the universe. He's going to take over Mite World, and then he's going to come into the real world and try to take over the real world, which I guess it's kind of fun that there's some kind of real stakes in this, although it's a little bit odd because it plays itself as just a straight-up parody, but then it's also not, because it's kind of kind of real DC continuity, so I don't know, I think it's a little bit dubious. But anyway, what ends up happening is the Overbite, yeah, that would be the joke. The Overbat in the third act goes into Mite World and stops Bane-mite, and but before that happens, Bane-mite fights all the other superheroes in the in Mite World, and like I said, the overarching plot itself is not all that great, and is not overall that funny even. It's more just the individual jokes that are really funny, like when Bat-mite says he's going to take over the universe and then brood and brood and brood. I think that's really funny. There's also a place where he gives his backstory, which is a lot like Bane's, except his father, and he won't tell us who his father is. When he's born, he's put into a little box, and then the next year on his birthday, he's put into a slightly bigger box, and each year he's put into a bigger box, and that's basically his whole backstory. And then he has this part where he says, well, I would tell you more of my backstory, but you could just read it in Vengeance of Bat-mite, on sale for $4.95, which is amusing because Bane was introduced in Vengeance of Bane, but it's also funny because this comic cost $4.95. Like I said, I think the best jokes in this are the Reign of the Supermen jokes. One of them is they've got this coffin that is obviously supposed to be the dead Superman, and from the coffin comes a word balloon that says, my super hype will soak up all his loose change, trying to fight Bat-mite, and then on the coffin it says R.I.P., and then under that it says retail in peace, which I think is hilarious. The stuff that makes Bat-mite, that makes him strong and big and giant, and this version of Bane is able to make himself huge, like several buildings tall, huge, and it's called Toxic. And at the end of this, the good guy, Overbat, Bob, has seemed to have learned his lesson about drugs, and then, of course, at the very end, he decides to go against all that and try out the toxic stuff, and Bat-mite tells him, no, you can't do that, who knows what it would do to a regular human, and then he takes it, and it just explodes. Of course, this being a parody, no one is allowed to learn anything, and it has to just be a really, really silly ending, which is, I suppose, okay, but anyway, yes, I'm spoiling this. I'm sure everyone will be very upset with me for spoiling this. There's this bit I thought was really amusing, where just before he stops Bat-mite, the Overbat says, when the golden light of purity shines, no evil or corruption can exist in the glow that it casts, and then he makes everything all bright and golden, and that's what kills the Bat-mite. And then under that, there's a few really amusing editor's notes, because I love it when these comic parodies will actually make fun of the way comics are written. And so there's a little editor's note under that that says, possibly from a Silver Surfer comic. Which I thought was really amusing. So anyway, that's my bit on Mitefall, which has its moments, but ultimately isn't brilliant comedy. But like I said, it has some individual bits that are totally worth reading. I didn't love the art. I mean, it's just so bizarre, and I suppose that's what this is for, so that's okay. But I just, you know, it was hard to read for several pages to me, and looked a lot like if the DC Universe was South Park. But anyway, that's it on Mitefall, and remember that the Comic Book Vault is a vast and wondrous wonderland of comic books that you can donate things to if you'd like. If you want to donate any comics for me or Vince to review on the Comic Vault, just send them to our P.O. Box. That's Geekvolution, P.O. Box 14183, Lenexa, Kansas 66285. Thanks as always for watching. I'm Captain Logan, and happy reading.